So awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here with you this morning. Y'all having fun? Let me start by just saying something that we're all thinking. Montel has the most exquisite set of quads that I've ever seen on a man. Right? I mean, he's either wearing tight shorts on purpose or he can't fit in shorts. Because those quads, man, unbelievable. Man, just a little bit more about myself. I played 7 years in the NFL, was blessed to be on a Super Bowl championship team with the Indianapolis Colts defeating the Chicago Bears. Any Bears fans in the room tonight? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Actually, not that sorry, because the ring is really cool, but no, it's the difference between having Peyton Manning and Rex Grossman. Let's just be honest with that. No, I'm just kidding. But so excited to be here with you this morning. You know, my goal today is to just inspire you to understand the impact that practicing a chosen belief system has on your culture. It's still a bit of a mystery how I went from one career where my job was to hit people for a living to now my career where my job is to love and develop people for a living. And talking with Casey earlier, one of the things he said to me was, Ben, I really want everyone here to have a true NFL experience. So Casey and I, tonight on the beach, if you want, we'll hit you as hard as we possibly can. So my career ended due to concussion, and I think everybody should experience one, at least once, so you can understand what it's like to actually play. You know, obviously, I'm just kidding. Movement HR is like, that's not a part of workplace policy, okay? We love and value people. We don't hit people. No, it's true. We don't hit people. But even more important than football, I'm a family man, to the core. And the good Lord, in His wisdom, believed that I should be the dad of 4 daughters. So, thank you. So pray for me, please, like every day. Pray, but it's awesome. I love being a dad of 4 girls. Case in point, this morning, my 9-year-old, any parents with young kids, when they start to figure out exactly how they can use text, this was my text from my 9-year-old this morning. Hi, Dad, good morning. Sunshine emoji, sunshine emoji, sunshine emoji. I miss you so much, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Double heart. Unicorn with a heart kiss. Isn't that awesome? It's so cool. I've learned more about myself as a man, being a husband and a father to these 5 incredible women. And it all comes down to what I believe it means to be a husband and a father. And how do my behaviors reflect what my foundational beliefs are? So let's jump in. I recently read a powerful story of a young boy's power of belief that took him on an incredible journey. In the 80s, this young boy grew up in a very challenging part of the Washington, D.C. area. He grew up in a neighborhood where there were drugs, where there were gangs, but he believed that he was called to a greater purpose. He grew up in a family where his father was a small business owner and worked tirelessly every day to provide for their family. And he tells this story about how his dad had saved for years to be able to buy their first brand new truck. But only days later, gunshots rang out in their neighborhood. And walking out to discover the entire side of the new truck riddled with bullet holes. But he believed that he was made for a greater purpose. And he fought, and he fought, and he excelled in school. It took him into college where he was able to live out one of his dreams, but then he got faced with trials of injuries and setbacks, but he never stopped believing that his calling was for a greater purpose. Finally, all of that hard work, all of that internal belief led towards getting his dream job. And he joins an organization that in 1 year has the greatest success that they've ever had, only to be let go, only to be dismissed from the organization. But he never stopped believing that he was called for a greater purpose. You see, friends, everything we do comes out of our intrinsic belief system. Every single one of you in this room carries an intrinsic belief system that drives you towards achieving your goals. You're living it in your brand. Dr. Edgar Schein, otherwise known as the godfather of organizational culture, defines culture as the espoused beliefs, assumptions, and artifacts of the community. In other words, every culture in the world comes out of the community beliefs, the assumptions of those beliefs, and the artifacts or the symbols of what those beliefs mean. In other words, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And how are you going to reflect that? Nobody does that better than movement. No organization does that better than movement. All you have to do is walk through the halls of HQ and see the artifacts all over the walls. How many of you enjoy the clothing line? I love it. I have drawers of movement t-shirts at home, okay? It all comes out of this power foundation of belief. Do you know what the definition of movement is? What is the actual Oxford Dictionary definition of movement? Excuse me? Objects in motion? Objects in motion. That's a great definition. The actual definition is an individual or community belief turned into action. Every movement that has ever been created in the world has come out of an individual or community belief system turned into action. That's what I experienced in Indianapolis. See, what was unique about Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy was he was the first to win a Super Bowl built on what's called servant leadership. His belief was that if you build better men, you get better football players. It wasn't all just about the X's and O's. If I'm going to build a Colts way culture around integrity and character, and yet I don't develop integrity and character in my players, we're never going to reach our potential. And so I was a part of this powerful movement through Indianapolis, built around the practicing of a shared belief system that led to ultimate success. It was February 4th of 2007. There was a cool Miami, Florida mist filling the Dolphin Stadium for Super Bowl 41. Still today, it's one of only 2 Super Bowls in the history of football to rain. And when you're losing in the rain, it sucks, right? Because all of the mud and all the rain gets into all the little places, and you feel it, and it's not fun. But when you're winning in the rain, it's amazing. It takes you back in time to when you're playing with your buddies, and you love the mud, right? Prince played at halftime. Anybody remember this halftime show? Prince played at halftime. Prince sang Purple Rain in the rain. You couldn't ask for something more miraculous than that. I'll never forget, we were in the tunnel, and the refs were holding back the Colts. Finally, they were given the green light. They dropped their hands, and they released the Colts. We came flying out of that tunnel, and my foot landed on that freshly cut Bermuda grass, and all of a sudden, I heard a familiar voice crying out my name, "Ben! Ben!" And I turned, and there was my dad. My dad had fought his way halfway around this stadium to find himself in the perfect location in the tunnel, doing the craziest yoga position I've ever seen. His leg was like way up in the back, and he was reaching down. And wouldn't you believe, in that moment, I shooed my dad away like a pesky fly. I was like, "Dad, it's the Super Bowl. Like, I got to go play. This is not the time." And friends, I took one more step onto that field, and it was like the fist of God just sucker punched me. And all of a sudden, I just felt this internal voice saying, go back. Go back to your father. Go back to where this all began. And it did. It all began with my dad in the backyard, where I would just run into his arms, and he would pretend to get blown up and fall down on his back, and he planted the seed of belief that playing this game was fun. And so I walked back, and I reached up, and you guys, it was really this cinematic moment. And I cried out, "Dad, Dad!" And thankfully, he heard me. He came back down the stairs, got back into that yoga position, and we locked hands. And I'll be vulnerable to say that we lost it. Just tears, and I just grabbed his hand and I said, "Dad, I love you, thank you. It all started with you." And you know what he said to me? He said, "Ben, I believe in you, and I've always believed in you." See, that was what was so powerful about my relationship with my father. My dad was a pastor, and so he tried to instill within our family the power of belief. And he had what we affectionately called his own creed. A creed is a set of beliefs that guide the behaviors and actions of people. And these were 4 foundational principles that he ingrained into my heart, into my sister's heart. The first was honor God, right? For him it was God, he was a pastor, but for others it's purpose, right? Honor God because I believe that playing for a purpose bigger than yourself produces greatness. Ben, work harder than everybody else because hard work develops talent and character. Ben, never, ever stop improving because I believe that there's always somebody right behind you that wants to take your position. And most importantly, Ben, have fun because I believe if you can't have fun, then what's the point of playing? And I know every single one of you in this room has had foundational beliefs like this that have guided you through your exceptional careers, okay? Movement has had the privilege of being able to work with leaders like John Maxwell. John Maxwell is the expert at these, right? And I know you've heard so many of those beliefs. For example, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Or how about this one? For the LOs in the room, right? John always says this. Fortune is in the follow-up. Fortune is in the follow-up. These are foundational beliefs that guide our behaviors. And it all comes down to one thing. Purpose. Purpose. When you can create and enhance purpose, value, significance in people's life, there is nothing that you can't achieve. And it comes down to that memorable way in which we can define culture that I want you to just embrace. Because what's so powerful about this organization is that it's already living out the ideals of what it takes to create a movement that has the ability to transform every single person that comes in contact with that brand. And it really comes down to understanding deeply, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? Simon Sinek fans in the house, the power of why? Yes, why? Why? The why is what creates the foundation and allows you to run hard. And most importantly is the how. The secret sauce is in how you choose to act based upon those beliefs. When you take those beliefs seriously and you turn them into value principles that are not just marketing words on a website, but they're actually ideals deep within your soul that you're willing to apply into every system that you create to be successful, you have the profound opportunity to not only reach your financial goals, but more importantly, create a legacy of impact on people's lives. Living out a culture of purpose is what transforms teams. My first team meeting with Tony Dungy, he steps into the locker room and he says, "Men, my job here is to win, don't get me wrong. But more importantly, my job is to build a family." And the acronym for family in football is forget about me, I love you. How about that? How about that in an NFL locker room with 53 of the most strong, egotistical, diverse men on the planet? We're going to win by loving each other. Now, you guys get that in this organization. But that was radical in the NFL. Right? My job is to build a family. Forget about me, I love you. Selflessness. If we believe in selflessness and humility, we can come together as a team in a way that nobody can dismantle. We have the only Super Bowl ring in the history of football to have a belief engraved in the side of the ring, and it's the word faith. It has nothing to do with religion. Tony Dungy's goal was, how do I create alignment across 53 of the most diverse and powerful men on the planet? So the acronym for faith is freedom for all individuals to trust and hope in each other. If I can get 53 guys to trust and hope in each other, then the levels of devotion and commitment that they will give towards themselves and towards the organization will lead to ultimate success. It will lead to the development of the strongest team. My favorite acronym for team is total engagement by all members. How do we together come together in a shared belief and value system that drives our behaviors, that inspires us to collaborate with one another so that we can reach the potential that we're capable of? And even more important is how practicing a chosen belief system can transform lives. And my story is a perfect example of this. This is a special picture. This was when Tony awarded me with his Uncommon Leader Award, which has been given to people like Peyton Manning, and the list goes on. And it was a huge honor. And I'm realizing right now that I'm wearing the same suit.
Wait, what did he say?
When something works, you got to keep doing it. Oh, man. How do I recover? Tony Dungy understood the power of how culture brings a team together, but the even deeper belief in his heart, the mission as he would describe it as a coach, was how do I transform the lives of every single player that comes into the organization? In 2003, I was the top tight end in the country. I was up for the Mackey Award, which is the nation's top tight end award. I was a preseason All-American at the University of Minnesota. 2 games left in the season, we're playing the Wisconsin Badgers. And I release on a corner route, 10 yards straight up the field, 45-degree angle to the corner of the end zone. And as I release, I plant my foot and I turn to find the ball. And as I turn to find the ball, I hear and feel popping all across my lower abdomen. Pop, 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 pop. And then my legs stopped working. And I crumbled to the turf. But I caught the ball. I mean, hey, still got a highlight out of it. But that was it. College career over. All the accolades gone. 2 months after, I go to the NFL Combine, and I can't perform because I still have this injury. We couldn't actually figure out what it was at the time. And I come to find out that all of the 32 NFL teams red flagged me as too much of a health risk. So when the NFL draft comes along, 2 full days go by and my name is never called. I went from being a potential 15th to 32nd pick in the first round to not getting drafted at all. It was embarrassing and it was really hard. I had my degree, but I put all my eggs in the football basket. And so driving up to my agent's office on a rainy Minnesota day, I couldn't help but think that my love and my passion for this sport was over, that it had run its course. 2 months before that moment, I have a chance to speak at a huge alumni event on the University of Minnesota campus in front of 600 alumni. And I get to open for the keynote speaker, who was Tony Dungy, also a former University of Minnesota football player. So I get up in front of all these alumni and I say, hey, Coach, he's sitting right in front. I say, hey, Coach Dungy, if you really care about being a Minnesota Gopher, you'll draft me in the upcoming draft. I mean, if you really care about the university. Everybody got a kick out of it. And he was gracious enough to respond. He came back to the podium and he said, Ben, you know what? Man, we'd love to have you, but we just drafted a first-round tight end last year, Dallas Clark out of Iowa, great tight end. And so we're really not looking for tight ends this year. And then he stepped back from the podium and he put his hand on his chin as if he was being downloaded something. And he came back to that podium and he said, Ben, you know what? I'm going to make a promise to you in front of all these people. If for some reason you slip through the cracks, if for some reason you don't get drafted, I promise you I'll be the first person to call. Right? Everybody clapped. Kind of went in one ear and out the other for me because there were still a number of teams that were very interested based upon my college career. I get out of that car on that rainy Minnesota day and I walk into my agent's office. Nobody had called my name. All that's left is the free agent market. These are the leftovers. These are the players that usually just get brought in to give the veterans a break. And about 5 seconds after the free agent market opens, the phone in the middle of my agent's desk rings, and I pick it up, and who do you think it was? Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was the first person to call. Not just Tony Dungy, but Hall of Fame general manager Bill Polian. Head coaches and general managers are not calling free agents. And yet they called me. And Tony said, Ben, look, we didn't think this was going to happen. We were following you through the draft.
Center clock working.
We know about your injury. We've actually dealt with this injury in the past. We want you to be a Colt. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you to the top surgeon in the country. Okay? We're going to get that injury fixed. And then we want you to sit out the whole first year and just get better. And on top of that, we'll pay you as though you're a playing rookie. What? This is the NFL. What have you done for me lately? Nothing. I had done nothing. I hadn't played a single snap, not even in practice. And they're paying me as though I'm a playing rookie. And here's a little signing bonus just so that you know that we care. 1 year later, Dallas Clark goes down with an injury at the end of preseason. And so I get to start against Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens. And I was scared to death. You don't even know. Okay? It's one thing to see Ray Lewis come out of the tunnel with the fireworks on television. It's another thing to be standing 30 yards away, realizing you have to block that guy for 3 hours. But I had the game of my life. I got the game ball, third quarter came around. I released a backside seam. The defensive safety messed up the coverage, left me wide open. Peyton saw it, came, hit me back shoulder. I turned. The safety had recovered. I lowered my shoulder and plowed through this safety, put him on his back. As I'm getting off the ground, I realize it's Deion Sanders. What? So my very first touchdown was from a Hall of Fame quarterback running through one of the greatest defensive players in history. And none of that happens without one man practicing a chosen belief system designed to have an impact on the human condition. 2 years later, our team makes it to the Super Bowl, and we went, I don't have that ring, I don't have that experience without one person understanding the importance that the impact can be on a person's life when you practice what you believe. And the result was amazing. This photo was taken right after we won the Super Bowl. Tony Dungy came in, put his hands up in the air. Everything got quiet. He asked all of the media to put their cameras down. I'm so glad one disobeyed because it gives you just an amazing snapshot into how special this team was. And having been around movement for 3 years, when I look at this picture, I see movement. I know how close this group is. I know how much you put into the practicing of your belief and value system. And I want to encourage you in that because there's no championship you can't reach when you come together to do that. That young boy who chose to believe in a purpose and a calling greater on his life, who went to high school, who went to college, who got his dream job, who was let go, who had to work through all sorts of trials to get to the level of success that he knew he was capable of. That young boy who now became a man in 2008 believed that he could transform the mortgage industry by loving and valuing people first. That young boy is Casey Crawford. And Casey Crawford planted a seed and he launched a movement. Remember, comes out of an individual or a community belief turned into action. A belief says that we exist to love and value people by leading a movement of change in our industry, corporate cultures, and communities. So my commission to you today is simple. Believe in yourselves. Believe in yourselves. When you believe in yourself, you raise the bar higher than anybody else can. When you believe in yourself, you're able to achieve any goal you set out. Believe in your community. Believe in your team. When you come together and when you build a family that's built on humility and selflessness and you work together, there is nothing that you can't achieve. Believe that the practicing of your beliefs and values will go out into the community and transform people's lives. And you're already doing it. Believe that you, all of you in this room, are the champions for the Culture at Movement designed for one purpose: to positively impact and transform the lives of every single person you come in contact with. So be the champion for your culture and win. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.